Okay. So what I'm doing is reviewing 2022 movies that I watched in 2022. So no older movies that I watched in 2022 and no 2022 movie that I watched in 2023. So to get Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Some of these I watched at home, but most of these I watched in the cinema. We're going to go from rank 52 to rank 1 with 15 seconds on each film. Let's go. The end to a pretty mediocre trilogy that dropped the only interesting thing it had by the end of the second act. It sometimes felt so dumb that it was genuinely painful to watch. Was it better than Halloween Kills? Yes. Was it still bad? Yes. Perhaps the most mediocre movie of the year, Morbius was a completely generic and incoherently edited mess of a superhero film. The only person that felt at all interested was Matt Smith. It made you feel insulted to watch it till the end credits. I remember coming out of Sonic 2 feeling that the film was very unfocused. I might be in the minority here, but the movie just felt predictable and not at all interested in building its side characters' world. Stuff just happens and Sonic is there instead of him leading the story. Don't Worry Darling just felt like wasted potential with a stellar cast excluding Harry Styles. The issue here was a lackluster script that kept forgetting everything it had established as the story went on, leading to it ending even before it had resolved its actual conflict. The hierarchy of the DC universe really crumbled here. So the script that did try to make commentary on Western influences and what makes them here, but barely said anything interesting with generic villains. Black Adam felt like empty calories that you regretted eating afterwards. Well, 3000 Years of Longing had very interesting flashbacks that genuinely get you invested, with great production design and acting from Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Nothing really tied this movie together. It would have benefited much more by focusing on its strengths. Okay, so hear me out. I love a good whodunit, but when your film starts with central mystery, when 60% of it is already over, and I can't do anything to actually solve the rest, it's really hard to get invested. Daniel Craig was fun, and so were the others, but for me, this movie wasn't. Emily is your classic summer woman in the 1800s who tries to break societal norms film. My biggest issue with the film was pacing, but most probably the film just wasn't for me. Then again, despite Emma McKay's good performance, it's a period drama that doesn't do anything new. Surprisingly, I remember enjoying this film while walking outside the cinema because it was just a standalone story. But now thinking back, I can only remember how hollow and incomplete this film felt. It tries to do four different things and does not execute any of them properly. The simple banter between Julia Roberts and George Clooney is good enough to make this a good, solid recommendation for most people. And the good premise, writing, and execution. My only problem with this film is it felt very generic at the end. The Indian remake of Forrest Gump adds enough of a Bollywood twist to better recontextualize it within an Indian setting. While Amir Khan's acting can be cringeworthy at times, you get used to it. Yet still, it feels more than a downgrade from its original. In a year full of whodunits, Death on the Nine's biggest strength is its gorgeous cinematography, as well as a good mystery that invites suspicion on all of the characters. Yet it lacks the tension of its predecessors and spends way too much time on setup. Strange World is a technically an homage to 70s and 80s action adventure films that themselves are an homage to earlier films, but it adds an interesting twist. Its central theme of family and legacy is pointed, but its narrative execution is definitely not. See How They Run is a whodunit that satirizes your typical Agatha Christie whodunit, but with love. Sam Rockwell and Kirsty Runner are a blast, and so is the editing. Its only failure is that it falls victim to the same criticism that it levies against the genre. A surprisingly good animated film that made me into a furry with that one scene. The bad guys in Ocean's 11 heist film with a surprisingly enjoyable conflict and very armored characters that are completely fresh out. Seeing the Gen Z horror comedy Bodies does enough to set itself apart from Murder Mysteries of the Year with a very constructive commentary on wealth and superficial politics that unfortunately drops the ball with a very anticlimactic ending. I'm still a bit upset at myself for having watched this film twice. The best review of this film was that there were some parts of it that they let Sam Raimi direct. And honestly, due to those, it's this high up. The entire plot feels constructed only to reach a specific endpoint. Is this a decent action adventure movie that you can have fun with? Yeah, definitely. Is this enjoyable if you've actually played the games? Eh. Even despite not using the game's iconic soundtrack, Uncharted still managed to be an enjoyable watch. A beautiful tale of feeling like an outsider trying to find community with great performances and cinematography. Bones and all makes cannibalism gorgeous. It leaves you feeling a bit empty at the end. It never really tackles its central conflict. Featuring a cast that's perfect for a modern day teen movie chick flick, Do Revenge uses them alongside a script well adapted to comment on the teen movies of old, but from a place of love and respect, which makes it a genuinely refreshing movie to watch. Simple. It's about Channing Tatum taking care of a dog. However, dog takes a very simple plot and adds a healthy amount of charm and heart to it. So at the end, you still feel invested and moved by its almost flawless execution. To be honest, I've not watched most of the Scream franchise, so I cannot comment on how accurately it riffs on its predecessor, but still being a horror suit that manages to be funny and scary while being accessible to newcomers makes it definitely a worth a watch. Paul Thomas Anderson's love letter to 70s California includes beautiful snippets of coming of age that is centered around themes of love and capitalism. But the film greatly succeeds in individual sequences and creating an atmosphere, it feels in narratively tying it into a complete arc. Bullet Train aims to provide fast-paced action as soon as its titular vehicle departs the station. A stellar cast helps to make the film enjoyable and memorable. However, its propensity to sticking done to relatively overdone action sequences makes it not reach its full potential. Elvis definitely takes a lead when it comes to its editing and direction, but one place where everyone can agree that Elvis shines is Austin Butler, whose acting genuinely puts you in the perspective of the king of rock and roll. Guillermo del Toro induces the film with his signature airy feel as Bradley Cooper navigates life through a circus and eventual conscript. The film carries an aura of 1940s sliminess that heavily adds to its mise-en-scene. While a bit too long, Nightmare Alley definitely manages to suck you in. This film is an expensive yet entertaining VFX endeavor that tries to justify its extravagant runtime with enchanting visuals while helping explain its exorbitant expenses. Exactly what it needed was extra focus to the story to make it more engrossing. You do not want to watch this one if you are faint of heart, but if you can stomach a naked man with bees all over him while his friends laugh their asses off, jackets wherever, absolutely delivers. I mean, where else are you going to see Machine Gun Kelly get smacked in the face? Sean Baker's signature style helps lend an aura of authenticity to the film as it introduces you to ex-adult film star Simon Rex and makes you root for him while simultaneously making you completely despise him. The film captures the subjects and environments superbly. Two reasons you should watch this film. Their names, Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield. While the screenplay provides a great build-up and fall for its two main characters, it is elevated by great performances and amazing hair and makeup that helps fully realize them. Aubrey Plaza is iconic in a simple premise of desperation and crime and its eventual escalation. Emily the criminal is basically Aubrey Plaza's hidden gems, where the tension keeps rising as Emily keeps finding herself in a corner. This is again one of those films which I was not the target demographic of, which is why it does not rank as high for me. But despite that, Turning Red is a beautiful story of familial pressures that almost any agent can relate to and transitioning from childhood to your teenage years. The film visually and emotionally feels as brutal as the story it tells. The Northman showcases a specific period of suffering and embodies it with a sense of magic that leaves you guessing. Yet its greatest strength comes from its unapologetically truthful depiction of its character. As I kept on writing this, smell kept on climbing higher because of how memorable its concept and execution were. Thanks to Zoe Bacon's performance, Smile gave us a villain that felt completely constantly present and looming without existing physically for the majority of it. Rescue Rangers is a movie that is perfectly aware of what it is and uses that meta-ness excellently to craft a hilarious script matching multiple IPs and art styles. It manages to capture the feeling I got when I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the first time. Honestly, the reason this film is high as it is because it had absolutely no right being as good as it was. With a great voice cast, but more importantly, writing that knew how to be silly without having to be dumb or exclusively for children, Super Pet succeeds superbly. Well, easily the best MCU movie of 2022, even though that didn't take much. Wakanda Forever, continuing its predecessor's legacy, doesn't manage to exceed it. It has phenomenal acting, amazing production design, and a great villain, but its message feels weaker than the first one. Nicolas Cage plays Nick Cage, and honestly, that's worth the price of admission alone. But add in Pedro Pascal being endlessly charismatic and a script that loves and understands Nick Cage films and derives its comedic value from understanding what makes him such an entertaining actor. 80% of the reason I put Nope this high is because of its cinematography and VFX. This part Western, part horror leaves you with so much to chew on. For a lot, it may not have been Peele's best work. I still feel Nope shoots for the sky and captures a very unique take. This Pakistani epic is large and impressive from the get-go, with sets and cinematography that bring the world so vividly to life while conveying a story on their own. This is followed up by phenomenal work by Hamza Ali Abbasi and Rashid Gohar to truly make this a Pakistani film to remember. Despite being in a language I couldn't understand, Parallel Mothers manages to convey so many emotions with so few words. It is an intimate story between two women that is beautifully acted and explores the trial of motherhood through a deeper understanding of what makes a mother. The Women Game represents nuanced takes on the themes of empire, womanhood, and slavery, and shines through with excellent acting and incredible world building. The music, costumes, and sets make the world its own and catapulted with a ferocity captured in both its performances and screenplay. Whether Crawdad Sings is probably the most controversial pick here, but I genuinely enjoyed it through till the end. The performances were great and three-dimensional, and the cinematography so vividly captured the feeling of home that with the end twist, I was fully moved. The previous year's Oscar winner really showcases that you do not need a massive production, but just a well told and well acted story that emotionally connects with you. Coda is a phenomenal depiction of a deaf family, their heart and flaws, but overall, it's about the pain of learning to let go. Living in its short 100 minutes is about a man played so well by Bill Nye that you cannot imagine anyone else in the role learning to find happiness in life at the end of his own. It is sweet, simple, and so good. I'm so glad I was in Pakistan in June because otherwise I would have completely missed this utterly gorgeous film about loss and recovery with an incredible performance from Sabah Kamar, Nimra Guja, and Sanya Saeed. Kamli captures an aura of secrets and despair that reels you until the end. Set in the background of the Irish Civil War, Kenneth Branagh directs a touching story from the perspective of a child trying to navigate an often murky and difficult world that frequently misunderstands him. It captures his innocence in the face of life's toughest challenges and a love for a simpler time. Absolutely packed with breathtaking scenes. It really takes a lot to make a liberal US military hating person like me to root for the Navy SEALs. But goddamn, Top Gun Maverick succeeds. With sheer phenomenal cinematography and editing, nobody has ever been this justified in making a sequel after so long. This movie is truly the best depiction of Batman in live action. A screenplay that so perfectly understands what makes the Dark Knight a hero and helps him learn that as well. Its 3 hour runtime is packed with mesmerizing cinematography, and I wouldn't bet a second of it. A shoe in for the best screenplay at this year's Oscar. The Banshees of Inisherin is astoundingly funny and incredibly gorgeous, but hides underneath it a sinister edge that swoops in just as your most wonderful. A simple story about friendship serves as a vessel for so much more. It is truly a delight when a film decides to convey its central theme not only through its narrative, but through its structure as well. The menu revels in the superficiality of well then deconstructed as one of the most fun and entertaining ways possible, while filling you with an equal sense of dread. Funny, the most obvious answer, everything, everywhere, all at once, is literally every genre so perfectly edited at its inner core. It's still about the construct of meaning of life and how we find that through our family. As a friend said, it really makes me want to make movies. So yeah, that was it. That was my 2022 recapped list. I'm really trying not to mess this up because I want a single take. And yeah, you don't want to agree with all of these. I barely will agree with them anyways myself at the end of the week. So, jab tak ke liye, thank you and Allah.